Welcome to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/Animal Stories for Kids. And now, it's time for our story. Once upon a time, there was a Barb named Appiana. Appiana the Barb lived among the deep and winding streams of a huge river. Appiana was a young and sprightly little Barb with a heart as big as the river itself. Appiana the Barb belonged to a group of 6 Barbs in her school of fish, and together, they were pretty well known throughout the river as the Bold Barbs. They had a reputation, or they were known well, for being pushy, a little reckless, and a bit mean. And they had their reasons for being like that. As the school of Barbs were traveling through the windy river, they reminded each other every day of why they were so pushy and aggressive, or really forceful, on other creatures. As they were reminding themselves about why they were the way they were, one of the older Barbs in the school said to the rest,
"Remember, young lads, we had to become strong and fight for our place in the river. The bigger fishes used to bully us and chase us away. Never forget that, my friends. That's why we learned to be tough and strong. If we act like we own the place, no one dares mess with us."
Appiana understood this as well. Life in the wild was no joke. Predators lurked behind every rock, and food didn't just float into your mouth. You have to work for your food in this river, and there were plenty of good reasons for why the Bold Barbs were rough and tough toward the other creatures in the river, by chasing and nibbling at all the creatures that were smaller than them. They were trying to protect themselves and feed themselves. But while the other Barbs in the school focused on ruling the river with force and being a bit mean to other creatures, Appiana the Barb found herself enjoying other things, like the way the bubbles tickled her fins or how the sunlight made the plants shimmer underwater. Appiana the Barb would often say to the other Barbs in her school, "I don't think anyone is gonna pick on us anymore. Can't we all just enjoy the river and leave others alone?" Sometimes the Barbs would listen, but most of the time, Appiana was the only one in her school who wanted to be nice to the other creatures. And most of the time, she felt like she was the odd one out. But still, she stuck with her school, even when they did mean things that made her fins droop in guilt. Like the time they swam into a peaceful patch of water where a group of little Rasboras were nibbling on algae. One of the Barbs in the school yelled,
"Out of the way! This is our snack now!"
as it darted in, scattering the Rasboras in the current and making them hide nearby as they watched the Barbs eat the algae. As the Barbs gobbled up the algae, Appiana sighed and waited until they all swam away. They left a mess, and pieces of algae were everywhere. As the water settled, she carefully nudged the floating bits of algae back toward where the Rasboras were hiding. "Sorry about that," she whispered to them before swimming and catching up with her school. Then there was the time they scared a peaceful little coolie loach that had been burrowing in the sand. The Bold Barbs zipped in circles around the loach, making it coil up in a confused spiral and spinning uncontrollably before it escaped the Barbs and wriggled away.
"What fun is a day without a little chaos?"
laughed one of the Barbs as they looked at the coolie loach wriggling away in fear. But Appiana the Barb didn't laugh. Instead, she used her tiny fins to smooth the sand back over the loach's burrow, hoping it would return. Despite her school's rough ways, Apiana never spoke against them. That was until one day when they went too far. The bold Barbs discovered a beautiful clutch of snail eggs stuck to a sunken log. They belonged to a snail who had been tending to them with great care. But the Barbs, always eager to poke at anything new, started nipping at the eggs.
Look at these weird little bubbles,
one of them chuckled. As the Barbs were about to nibble on the snail eggs, Apiana blurted out to all of them, "Stop!" as she swam in front of the eggs, protecting them from the Barbs. "These belong to a parent. You can't just destroy them." The other Barbs flicked their fins in irritation.
"It's just a snail. Who cares?"
one of them said to Apiana. "The snail cares," Apiana the Barb insisted. "And what if it were our eggs? Would you want a bunch of mean fish coming by and tearing them apart? Remember how we all felt when the other creatures were pushing us around? Remember why we had to stand up for ourselves and become stronger? Well, now we have become the bullies, and we're being mean to all the other creatures. We didn't like feeling helpless back then, so why are we making others feel that way now?" The school of Barbs hesitated as they flicked their tails in thought. Apiana could see they were remembering all the times they had felt small and powerless, being chased by bigger fish. One of the Barbs finally sighed and said,
Oh, fine. We won't touch them. But we were just having fun."
"Fun should never come at someone else's expense," Apiana the Barb said gently. The school of Barbs felt bad and embarrassed, and with regret over all the bad things that they had done, they swam away, leaving the snail eggs untouched. Apiana stayed behind for a moment, making sure everything was in place before catching up to her school. That day, something changed. The bold Barbs still darted through the water with confidence, but they started thinking twice before disturbing others. One evening, Apiana noticed her school slowing down in the water, watching as a tiny group of young Barbs swim nervously past them. Usually in the past, the bold Barbs would have scared off the young Barbs. But this time, instead of scaring them off, the bold Barbs just let them be and swam away. One of them even flicked their tail at the young Barbs and greeted them. Apiana felt really good about herself. She helped her school see that being strong doesn't mean being unkind, but knowing when to stand up for yourself and knowing when to be gentle. And the Barb lived happily ever after. The end. Barbs are a group of small, colorful fish that live in freshwater, like rivers, streams, and lakes. They're from the family Cyprinidae, which also includes carps and minnows, and they're from a genus called Barbus. But there's lots of different kinds of barbs that come in many different colors and sizes. In fact, there are over 1,000 different types of barbs. Barbs come in many colors like red, yellow, silver, orange, and black. Some even have stripes or spots. Some barbs are tiny, only 1 inch long, but the giant barb can grow up to 10 feet. Many barbs have small whisker-like structures near their mouths called barbels, which help them find food. Barbs can be found in many places like Africa, Asia, and parts of Europe. They love warm, clean water with plants and rocks to swim around. Some barbs like fast-moving rivers, while others prefer calm lakes with a lot of plants. Barbs are omnivores. They eat both plants and tiny animals. In the wild, they munch on insects and small creatures, as well as algae. Barbs like to live in groups called schools because it makes them feel safe. These schools are usually made up of 5 to 6 barbs. Some barbs, like the rosy barb, can change colors during mating season. Barbs can adapt to different water conditions, which makes them great pets. There are many types of barbs with unique colors, patterns, and behaviors. Here are some of the most well-known types of barbs. There's the tiger barb, which have stripes like a tiger and are very aggressive. They're known to nip at fins of slower fish. There's also the cherry barb, which turns bright red in breeding season. The rosy barb, which has a pinkish glow. The gold barb, which is golden yellow with a metallic shine. The Odessa barb, that has a bright red stripe along its body. The Denison barb, or also called the torpedo barb, has a sleek silver body with red and black stripes. There's also the giant barb, which is the biggest barb, growing up to 10 feet and can be found in Southeast Asia. There's also the tinfoil barb, which is a large silver fish with shiny metallic scales, and the spanner barb, or also called the T-barb, because it has a T-shaped mark on its body. Have you seen a real-life barb before? If you have, where did you see it? If you want to write to us, ask your parent to email us at animalstoriesforkids@gmail.com and tell us what you think of our stories. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/animalstoriesforkids. Until next time, bye!